Welcome to another episode of the Plurus Awards podcast. Our community is filled with hundreds of stories from creators and entrepreneurs just like you. Through this show, we share these stories of challenges and successes, from bloggers to podcasters, from writers, speakers, and more. I'm your host, Michelle Jackson. Today's guest, Dr. Derricka Harwell, shares how success almost became her business's downfall. Like many entrepreneurs, once there's an opportunity to hire in new team members, she embraced it. By removing herself from her business too early, she soon learned that her customers had something to say with their wallets. She shares what she learned, how she figured out what wasn't working, and how the second time building out her team ended up being the best thing for her business and brand.
I am Derricka Harwell, the co-CEO of Derricka Harwell Enterprises, BeautifyCredit.com. I am also an award-winning author and best-selling author for my book, Beautiful Credit.
I'm curious, how did you get into talking about money? What kind of doctor are you? And spill the tea, and then we're going to get into this conversation.
Awesome. So I have my honorary doctorate degree in philosophy from TIUA in Atlanta, Georgia. I got into finance literally from corporate America. I used to work for several major financial institutions, including PNC and Bank of America. So I literally got my start as an FSC, which is a financial service consultant for Bank of America and PNC Bank. I dealt with everything from small business to mortgages. So that's kind of how I got my start into that world. And then, of course, entrepreneurship means I just broke away from corporate America and decided to venture off on my own.
Why would you do that to yourself?
I love that. So to be really honest, corporate America just kind of limited me. You know, there are certain things you can do, certain things you cannot do. There are certain things you can say and cannot say. And in my particular position, I was a little fed up with not being able to properly educate people that look like me. I literally would have to read something verbatim when there was some type of declination, when it came to a credit application, when it came to a mortgage application or auto loan. I wanted to sit there and give them a little more education about it. I wanted to be able to assist a little bit greater. And unfortunately, in my particular position, I wasn't permitted to do so. I wanted to get more people in a position to do so much more, whether it was buying a home or buying a car or just anything of that sort, and not even just get them the approval, but let them know how to maintain this good credit. Let them know how credit even works and what the banks are looking for, because a lot of times we really think it's about a score. We thought it was about a number, and there's so much more than that. So I just kind of wanted to give so much behind the scenes, but I didn't want to lose my job. So that's literally how I got started. I got fed up enough one day, and I'll never forget, it was a Saturday, and I called my husband, and a situation had occurred, and I was just extremely fed up with the situation and the predicament that was in front of me. And my husband's exact words were, "Leave. They need you. You don't need them. Leave." And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so nervous. I'm scared. I'm like, the utility company doesn't take, I'm doing something new here, as a payment. So he said, listen, I got us. I've had us, in the past where, we have ventured off and done some different things. So you have to trust God and trust me, to have us. So that day, that exact same day, I took off my little wireless alarm and my keys, and I walked out of the bank, and I haven't been back.
What was it like building out your online brand? Could you kind of walk us through what you did in order to get people to connect with what your business was and who you were serving?
Absolutely. So I actually didn't start online, unlike, being in 2022. Everything is virtual. I actually started and built my business word of mouth. Because it was credit repair, I actually just kind of positioned myself in a space where my clients were. So when I started this business with my husband, it started in our living room. No one knew we had a business. We just had this idea. We had a notebook and an ink pen, and this is what we were going to do. So we created flyers and figured out who our demographic was, and we went to them. So we went to places like the car dealership. where, people that got declined, they would need our assistance. So, and to be clear, we didn't go to like your luxury dealerships. There was no Mercedes-Benz or BMW. We went to like the buy here, drag it in, push it in, pull it in type of dealerships, because if we had bad credit, that's where we would be. So we wanted to put ourselves in a space and in a position where our clientele actually was. So we were there. We went to laundromats, we went to beauty supply stores, and just kind of got the word out that way. So we had a pretty good support system when it came to finally building online. So when I got online, I actually started with Periscope, and Periscope is like a dinosaur now. But Periscope is to Twitter what Facebook Live and Instagram Live is to Facebook and Instagram. And so I actually started on there by educating, the same thing I was doing in the brick and mortar businesses, going in and offering education and offering tidbits and letting people know exactly what they're missing when it comes to credit education, financial literacy, and things of that nature. So it really, really, really positioned me to be labeled as that expert and guru. And so that is kind of how things took off. Eventually Periscope became a dinosaur, Facebook Live became a thing. And I started doing Facebook Lives. I started doing random posts to give people education and telling things, the truth about what the bank was looking for and what actually counted against you and what didn't. And, dispersing a lot of myths and things of that nature is what really assisted in building that online following, because people want to know, hey, what am I doing wrong? What is it that I don't know that could possibly assist me? Because no matter who you are, you have goals. And if credit and financial literacy are holding you back from those goals, especially in my particular community, you want that education. And unfortunately, when I was coming up, it wasn't readily available. There are gurus everywhere now. But in building my business, it wasn't something that was readily available. Everyone didn't have a class or a course. And it's not like it's taught in high schools or, on a collegiate level.
I'm going to be honest, I had completely forgotten about Periscope, kind of the way that I am Clubhouse, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
How did you transition all of this free content and community building into having people wanting to actually pay you for your services, your products, and what were they? How did your audience tell you it was time to say yes to something that you were providing that was paid? And how long were you doing this free community building? Like, what did that look like?
Okay. So one, I still do free community building. I have one of the largest financial groups on Facebook, the Beautiful Credit Community, named after my book, Beautiful Credit. I still give a lot of resources, a lot of free information to this day. I'll probably be live later today talking about what's happening with Joe Biden for giving these student loans. But how I created a conversion rate. So I have a very impressive conversion rate of over 80%. I have a very huge social media following on Facebook. And like I said, in my groups and whatnot. And that literally built up just from giving that free education. I've always offered credit repair. And one thing I can say is I learned to listen to my audience. My audience would tell me, hey, I wish there was a course on this. You come in, you give us a free 15, 20 minutes of this. And I wish I knew more about this before I filed bankruptcy. Now I'm coming out of bankruptcy. I really want to know how to build credit. I really want to know how to balance some things. You taught us primary bills and secondary bills, but I would really like something more in depth. I also learned that a lot of my following, over 90% of my following, wanted to purchase homes. So when I would get on and I would talk about mortgages and things of that nature, I really wish you taught a class on this. So in 2015 is where I taught my first class. And of course, we're in 2022 now, so everybody's got a virtual course and all that. But back in 2015, that was a very big deal for me. I was very, very excited about that. That class sold out and it literally just took a few days. And I think it was the positioning and the reality of sharing the success, not just my own success, but the success of other people. So people that had gone through my program and purchased homes, a lot of credit repair companies would post the results from credit repair. So they would put pictures of, those deleted items and, hey, who needs their student loans deleted and things of that nature. That's something I didn't do. What I would do a Facebook Live going to a client's closing or at their housewarming or, right after the closing where we pulled up to the address and they put the keys in their door for the first time. I've become a master marketer. So I've learned that, through marketing, you tap into people's emotions. That's how everything is sold, literally from Target to Walmart, Saks. You get those emotional buyers, impulsive buyers, depressed buyers, happy buyers. If you can tap into an emotion for someone, you can sell them just about anything. I would literally start sharing the various emotions of my clients that I had assisted. So if there was a single mom with 2 kids, I'm there and I'm showing the pictures and the videos of them walking into their home for the first time, overcoming homelessness, getting military clearances, things that people could relate to, that they would understand, listen, she's really doing this, yes, I'm selling, but she's really doing this. And that made people want to be a part of whatever it is that I'm doing. So listening to my audience, I launched those courses and also pushing exactly what I do as the end result was something that was really huge. And I want to say something really quick. I know we're on a time limit, but one of the greatest things I've learned from Steve Jobs, he's got a video that's on YouTube, and he talks about marketing and how Nike never markets the actual shoe. So if you ever watch a Nike commercial, you'll notice that the shoe itself, no one talks about, the aerodynamics of the shoe, and it's going to, make you jump higher and run faster and, do all these things. They don't even tell you if the shoe is comfortable. But how they sell you is on the end result. You see all these Olympic champions and you see, all of these NBA champions and all of that. The shoe results in you being a winner. It results in you being a champion. It has nothing to do with if this shoe is going to make you do all the things. You are going to make you do all the things, but the shoe is going to look good on your foot. And that's how they sell you on that. They sell you on the emotion of that.
Ooh. You know what? I had never thought about that from the perspective of Nike. You are right. There are definitely a number of businesses where they understand their customer base so well. Target's the other one where people joke about how you just go in and you black out and you just have this joyful experience.
Absolutely.
So I'm a huge Target person, and there's nothing better than just going in there and you meant to get thank you cards, but then this is what happens. You go in there and you're supposed to get toilet paper. You mean me. And then I leave always with like toilet paper, some Black Girl Magic wine because they sell their sexy dress, thank you notes. And I'm always like, what happened? But I had a good time doing it. Don't get me wrong. I had a good time. Part of the reason why I wanted to speak with you is you very graciously shared that you could share some perspective on one of the sins, quote unquote, that we're talking about within the series, like just some of the mistakes that we make as content creators. I feel like you have such a good gauge of where your community is, but could you talk about a moment in time where within your business, there was a lack of connection with your audience and what that impact was to what you were trying to do, the results you were trying to get for them, or just how it impacted communicating with your audience? So again, just a lack of connection and how it impacted your brand on a bigger scale.
Absolutely. So I think this is huge. A lot of very successful businesses don't talk about this. I received a Millionaire Award in 2019, I believe. For 2018, my company did $3.7 million in 1 year. And I was extremely proud. I thought that meant, incredible success and, all the things. And one of the first things I wanted to do was start pulling myself away from my company so that I could build other things, whether it was other businesses or different aspects of my company as a whole. So I started hiring for different positions and different things, and I was very skeptical, let me say that. Because credit repair, you're dealing with people's identities and, their credit card information, just all types of things. So I was very skeptical when hiring. which is a whole nother podcast. But I got some people in position and I started building some other things and some other very successful businesses with my husband. And I can honestly say that that business, it continued to do more, but the credit repair side of the business, not my digital course side, but that credit repair side, I saw a downward slope and I started seeing things maybe that first quarter going into the second quarter. I noticed that, we didn't have as many clientele as we had at one point. And I was paying my people and doing very well as far as my employees, but there was some frustrations with the process. So the issue was there was a disconnect. Because I had stepped away so much from the business so early, we are so anxious. We are in the boss era. And so being in that quote unquote boss era, you want to, be like all the things you see on Instagram and on Facebook of quote unquote bosses in these luxury vehicles, living their best life and on vacation. And what you don't see is the behind the scenes work. We're always told we have to work smarter and not harder. But I think that in order to work smarter, you had to really work harder first. And although I worked hard to build that business, building a multi-million dollar business is no piece of cake, but sustaining a multi-million dollar business is even harder. So I had to really get back into the business. I had to get into what my employees were doing and understanding, okay, this is why people are leaving. They're frustrated with this. We're not getting the results that we want based on this because this is moving too slow. I need to buy a system to make this move faster, or I need to make sure that this part is automated because now this creates less of a headache for my employees and it makes things more seamless for the clientele. So I had to really dive back into the business. Otherwise, it would have cost me my business, to be very transparent with you. So I had to just kind of figure things out by going back into the business and getting away from that mentality of, I'm not working in my business. So now here we are in 2022, and I don't necessarily work in the business, but I have quarterly check-ins with my employees, which is something that I implemented. I have different surveys that we utilize just to make sure that everything is well. I have a very strong customer service team at this particular point and a auto-generated system. It's a software that the amazing Andrea Hepburn had built into my system so I can get feedback from my clientele. I need to know what it is that they're looking for, what it is that they want, what's going to make this process smoother and easier and all the things to make sure that this experience is top notch. So in that is when I really started to gain more clientele, get greater success, and get things to happen a lot more swiftly than with the way they once happened before.
I actually feel like every entrepreneur goes through some of these growing pains where you do have to reassess what works and what isn't working within the business. I think that the problem becomes if you don't recognize that there is an issue and address it quickly.
Most definitely. I could not agree more. I think that when I first saw those numbers, you're like, oh my gosh. And when I got the emails, I'm very big on communication. And a lot of people say, what is it that my husband and I have been together since we were 19 years old. And a lot of people say, how does that work? You have 7 kids and, all the things. Like, how do you do that? Yes.
The person in the picture that I'm looking at?
Yes. And I just had another baby and it's
you know what? I'm getting distracted. Keep on going. Oh my God. Congratulations. Keep on going.
Yes. So we just had another baby and she just turned 1 and our oldest will be 15 next month. And people say, you go from a child getting ready to drive to a newborn. Like, how do you all, create data? Like, how do you maintain? You've been together for so long. And the reality is communication. And if you use that in every aspect of your life, I promise it will assist you so much greater than anything else. So that same communication that my husband and I have, I implement that in business. I communicate with my team. I'm in constant communication with them because they're in constant communication with my people, and I don't care how great your business is. If you don't have clientele, if you don't have anyone walking into your Walmart, you're pretty soon going to have an empty building, an abandoned building. So I stay in great communication with my people to be able to know exactly what's going on, what's needed, what's occurring, and where everyone else, is. I think that 9-to-5 experience really assisted in propelling me to become the type of boss that I've always wanted, but also that was needed, to be able to say, hey, how can this work better? How can we provide a better experience here? And I'll be honest, when you start looking for a better experience for your clients and for your employees, you produce a lot more money. This is literally how we went from 3.7 million to 12 million, because I started getting different affiliates. I started having different programs for my employees, giving them bonuses. People work harder for you when they feel appreciated, when you hear them, and not just hear them, but when you take action to the things that you've heard, and your clientele, when you hear them as well. I would hear frequently, okay, you guys have done this and we've got these things removed from my credit report, but what's next? And so what's next is for them to build. So what did I do? I went and got an affiliate relationship with a financial institution, and now I have my own credit card. And every time someone gets this credit card, I get paid. So now I've got someone that is graduated from my program or in the midst of my program, and I make money from them again, all because they wanted this type of experience, a much better experience. So another thing was pulling the credit reports. The system that we were using initially, it would be extremely glitchy and very hard to get the credit reports moved over. It moved over quickly. And of course, that caused delays and different issues. So I switched and I got a program that I could become an affiliate for. And it also gave them their FICO score. So I knew 90% of my audience wanted to buy homes, and most financial institutions are using what's called your Beacon score, your FICO score. So now I've got a system that's going to work better for them because they're going to see closer to what the bank sees. And then also because it's not glitchy. And every time someone decides, okay, I'm going to use this and I'm going to maintain this every month, I'm going to be paid initially. And then I get paid again for every month that they keep that service. So now I'm being paid for the credit repair monthly, the credit card, the credit monitoring, and so forth. So it resulted in being able to create a phenomenal experience, but also producing phenomenal income as well.
I feel like I'm in a masterclass. I literally, wow. Okay. So I do have a question before we wrap up. It's not a small question, but I'm very curious about how you made that first 6-figure year, not your 7-figure year, but what was that first 6-figure year like? Because I think for many of the content creators, the personal finance folks listening to this series of content and this information from Plurus, they may not be even anywhere close to 7 figures yet. And they're just trying to hit that first 6 figures. Could you talk about what that looked like?
Yeah. So my first 6 figures was actually multi 6 figures. Let me be totally transparent. I was petrified. And I think that's probably an understatement. When you come from where I worked a job where I want to say my salary was maybe 60,000 for the year, maybe even 50,000 for the year, working for one of the top financial institutions in our country. And to take that, quit that job in the middle of the year, start a new business, do multi 6 figures in that business. By the time the end of the year happened, it was so much money that I was scared. That's probably I remember speaking to my husband. We hired, shout out to Candace Stevens. I absolutely love her. We hired Candace Stevens to kind of, keep all of our books aligned. And, she was just the best CPA. We still use her to this day. She's amazing. And when she sent over the document, I was in the bathtub. I screamed. I called my husband into the room and I was like, oh my gosh, we just did this. Like, are you looking at these numbers? Like we just did something amazing. And I was in tears, and it was very scary for me. You know, when you think about coming from the 9 to 5 world, your taxes are done for you, meaning that they pull out what's necessary. Social Security is pulled out. Like, so much is done for you, and you're just kind of handed your money at the end of it all. This meant all of my money was given to me up front. So I couldn't mess this up. So I was scared. And I didn't know anyone that produced that type of income to be able to truly guide me. So it was about reaching out to different people, bumping my head a few times, and then also making sure that I invested back into the business, because one of the first things that we do when we see a lot of money, you know, is we want to spend a lot of money, especially if you didn't come from a lot. And one of the things I share with my audience, you know, I've been told so many times, you know, stop acting like you ain't never had nothing, you know, and the reality is I'm not acting. You know, I have to let them know, listen, I've spent several decades of my life broke. I've spent more of my life broke than I did as a multimillionaire. So this is not acting, you know, this is what it is at this point. So
I love that. But I'm going to change the question a little bit, because again, this is for entrepreneurs who are in the space. What were 3 key steps that you took? Because that is very fast growth within a year. Like, that's shocking to me. That's like unicorn growth. So what were some of the things that, like, 3 key things that you did or actions that you took in that year that helped create this business? Was it that you were consistent on Periscope? Was it that you got people on an email list? Like, I'm just trying to figure out how this went from an idea to converting at the percentage that it did.
Absolutely. So yes, consistency is definitely number one. I always tell people, you know, I don't care if you're doing HVAC, if you're a makeup artist, you know, just be consistent about whatever it is that you're doing. At the beginning of this, I shared a little bit about getting out there, getting myself out there before the internet was a huge thing for businesses. I would physically go into spaces where I knew my clients were. So I made that conscious decision that no matter what it was that I was going through, and anyone that has seen those periscopes from back in the day, I was heavily pregnant, 113-degree heat, like nothing stopped me from getting up and getting out there. So consistency is definitely number one. I think that number two would probably be listening / kind of communications. So listening to your clientele as you grow, listen to your employees, listen to yourself though, as well. And listen to, you know, exactly what it is that you feel within your business, and not so much what you think is going to look good, or you're kind of guessing this. You know precisely what your business is in need of, precisely what your business would do well in, and what spaces your clientele are in. So make sure that you're listening to yourself, make sure that you're being consistent. And number 3 is going to be stay open. You're never at a level where you cannot receive education. You're never at a level where, you know, you cannot receive something that will assist you in growth, and understand that you can learn from anyone. I follow Michelle Obama, just like I follow Cardi B. The marketing is amazing between the two dynamics. So understand that you can learn anything from anyone, but you have to be open to it. You know, if you make your first 6 figures, don't, you know, feel closed off. You make 7 figures, don't feel closed off and feel like, you know, you can do this all by yourself and you don't need to gain anything. I went to a millionaire's brunch and I was extremely excited to be in the space. And my net worth is $30 million. And I remember sharing that with someone that was there because it was an accomplishment. You know, I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, you know, girl from the hood, brown girl from the hood. That is a lot for me. I remember being there and speaking with another woman, and she was just like, "Oh, that's cute. I made that last year." It just, right. My whole net worth she made in 12 months.
Dang.
Right. But she didn't mean anything negative by it. And I didn't take anything negative by it. It's just, listen, I took it as you're always in a space where you can grow. You're always in a space where you can get better. You're always in a space where you can learn more, you can gain more. And if you are the smartest person in the room, the wealthiest person in the room, it's time to get in another room. It's time to switch up your circle. It's time to surround yourself by different business owners and different people so that you can actually learn something versus everyone pulling on your knowledge and everyone learning from you.
I want you to share how you knew what your first product was. I think this is the part I'm still trying to figure out. Like, what did you decide to sell to people that people were like, okay, like, I can't tell if it was a course or a tool. I feel like we're all wanting to know. We are curious. The affiliate is brilliant, by the way. That affiliate tip was brilliant. But I'm trying to figure out how you go from, okay, I've got this idea. The affiliate 100% makes sense to me, but how did you identify the thing that made sense for you to sell? I think that's the piece. And if you're comfortable with it, what was the initial product price?
Absolutely. So the initial product was credit repair. When I first left the financial institution that I was working for, I worked as a financial service consultant. So sitting behind a desk, processing applications, processing mortgages, or doing even closings and, just all the various things. That was what paid the most because you were paid hourly, but you also received a commission. So I grew a passion for being able to assist people with being able to finance their dreams, whether it was their dream car, their dream home, startup money for their dream business, credit card, whatever the case may be. I grew a passion for that. I love being able to see people conquer the things that they truly wanted in life. And for a lot of us, the largest asset we ever will own is a home. Every now and then when I worked in the wealth department, I got those aircraft loans and those loans for lots and things like that. But just being able to assist my people is something that I was extremely passionate about. And so when I got a lot of those declination letters that would come back for my clients, where they weren't automatically approved and I've got to recite this thing to them and tell them they'll get something in 7 to 10 days. And I really couldn't give them any more. I think that was kind of my trigger, because I knew so much more because the bank had trained me. PNC had their own academy, their own university out in Sterling, Virginia. Bank of America sent me through this very intensive training. So I was very well trained in the mortgage department, in just all around financial literacy, in credit cards and different things of that nature. So I wanted to give this knowledge to people. I really wanted to be able to do that. I wanted to be able to assist them and then say, hey, now that you've done this, come back to me. Come back to me so that we can get this deal closed. I can get this commission. You can get your house and, all the things. So I started giving education. I speak 3 languages fluently. I don't know if I've shared that in this interview.
No, which ones?
Yo parlo italiano. I speak Italian, and se habla español. I speak Spanish. Nice. I started taking a lot of Spanish speaking clients first and kind of giving them education because no one else in my office except for the tellers, who were all the way on the other side of the bank, knew what I was speaking. I think there were only 2 girls at that time that spoke Spanish. So I was able to give some off-record information, education, and just little tidbits, which ultimately led for more people coming in because, word of mouth, it spreads pretty quickly. Hey, this woman's coming in. And if you get declined, she's going to tell you what declined you. She's going to tell you, listen, my utilization was high. She told me to go pay this down and do this and come back. And I got approved, or, hey, I missed this payment. And she told me to write a goodwill letter. And here's what it needs to consist of. And my credit score shot up 100 points. And now we're getting ready to close on our home, so little things, like that we were able to kind of have some conversations with is kind of the birth of Beautify Credit. I started Beautify Credit and I had to leave Bank of America because, of course, there's a conflict of interest there. But when you're giving that type of education, you you see the need and you feel the need. And I tell people, no matter what it is that you want to do, if your business solves a problem, you have a very successful business on your hands. You have to be able to be someone's solution to something. And financial literacy, credit education, credit repair was the solution to the problem that I saw every day in my office. So that is literally the first business we gave birth to before a course was ever created, before a book was ever written.
I am so excited to listen to this episode again after we get off this call, because I like, this was awesome. I'm going to be candid. I wasn't familiar with you. And so I'm super excited about all of this. People, go learn some languages. I learned Spanish and French, actually. So I feel like the overachieving in being able to talk to all the people, for me, it was just, I like to talk. But I love that you're like, look, let me like slip some knowledge to my clientele who are being underserved.
Most definitely.
And I think that that's a beautiful lesson for people who are wanting to follow what you're doing, to support your work. How can we find you?
Absolutely. So if people are looking for credit repair, beautifycredit.com, that's BeautifyCredit, beautifycredit.com. There you can get our credit restoration services, our Beautify Credit credit card. You can even purchase my award-winning book, best-selling book. My book is also at Target. My book is at Barnes & Noble, Books A Million. If you have an iPhone, Apple iBooks.
What's the name of your book?
It's called Beautiful Credit. Beautiful Credit is the title of my book. Sorry.
Like, I need the name.
Thank you. And my courses can be purchased at harwellwebinars.com. That's HARWELL webinars, WEBINARS, harwellwebinars.com. And there you can find literally everything. I literally teach you everything from business credit the right way. Because, there's tons of gurus teaching tons of methods and, all types of stuff online. So I have a course on being able to get business credit and purchasing real estate. I have a course on how to purchase real estate, because sometimes, again, what I've learned is people go through the credit repair program and they have great credit. And if you've never had great credit before and you want to purchase a home, you may just walk into the bank and say, hey, I need a pre-approval. And you don't know if you need an FHA loan or a conventional loan or 203K rehab, so that real estate webinar is great. I have a tax lien webinar on there that teaches you how to get properties for as low as $500. I have a course for just about everything.
And actually, because this audience is really like entrepreneurs in the personal finance space, do you have a tool for entrepreneurship, like something within that space?
So I do have a mentorship program. I have produced 11 millionaires to date, and I don't have favorites, but one of my favorite is Salome Bay. Shout out to Credit Power LLC. I absolutely love her. I've created 11 millionaires, and it's just been amazing. So I do coaching. I do one-on-one calls, and in order to get booked with me, you do have to go to my website, which is derrickaharwell.com, and you can book me for a one-on-one coaching call, or you can join my mentorship program. It's amazing. There's a lot of success stories on there, a lot of what we call receipts or social proof of things that I've been able to assist other individuals with. And lastly, I do want to put this out there, and I try to put this out there in every interview, radio interview, magazine, podcast. I also offer a lot of help to the community. So I recently received the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award from our 46th President, Joe Biden, just last month in Georgia's capital. And it's for putting so much back into the community. So I always like to let everyone know that I assist with everything. I didn't get to where I am on my own. I'm not quote unquote self-made, because there were a lot of other selves that, were involved in me making it to this particular point. And God made me. God did this. There's nothing I could have just done on my own, totally solitary. So there's a lot that I do in the community in terms of giving back. So please, if someone is listening to this and they're they're striving with their business, but they still need their rent paid. They still need their mortgage paid. There's no groceries in the home. You're a paycheck or so behind for a car note. My husband and I, we formulated so many various programs at DerrickaHarwell.com, BeautifyCredit.com. If you just click that community works tab, we assist the community at a great deal. We've put over $2 million in the community, and we do everything from paying mortgages, paying rent, car notes. You're a college student, we cover tuition. We do a little bit of everything. So if you are in need of assistance while you are striving, we are here to help because we know exactly what that feels like. And we did this with multiple children, so we get it.
Thank you so much for being a guest on the show. I wish you so much more success, and
thank you for having me.
I'm excited to follow what you're doing and just appreciate your time. I know that you are super busy.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.